capstone students. I noticed this week students are posting some great discussions, and these are some of these issues that they have discussed. I thought maybe I talk about some of them. One of the students mentioned that customers the entrepreneurs need to see how many customers might buy some products, which is correct. I would like to mention a story of a marketing firm that sends one of its employees to a part of Australia that the people in that area didn't wear any shoes. He went there and studied the market, came back and said that, oh, this is not a good market. The people don't wear any shoes there. And then another company sent another marketing person to the same area. Then the person came back and said, this is an excellent place to sell shoes. And the reason for it is because the people don't wear shoes. Because they don't wear shoes, it's a great market for us. Therefore, I want you to see how two different marketing organizations, two marketing people looked at the same market. Therefore, you always have to review and see what the markets want and if they are buying and if they are paying for it. And then you want to make sure that there are not many. Of course, you always have some strong businesses everywhere, but at the same time, you can look at the niche marketing, you can look at niche products, and sometimes you, as a small business, you might have advantages that the big companies might not have. Sometimes you have heard of local banks that they customize their services to needs of the community, and suddenly a big bank might not be able to provide the same services as a small bank can provide. Therefore, there are opportunities in different, situations, and a strong economy. And correct, if the economy is strong, of course, it is good for the businesses, for the most of the businesses. There are some structures that they benefit if the economy is not strong. One of the examples, let's say community colleges. When the economy is bad, the people lose their jobs. The community colleges will have more students because the people come back to colleges. Therefore, you always have to research the market, and you have to make sure that the customers, in the area that there is a need, customers are not served. That's where there might be opportunities for you as an entrepreneur. This is what one of the students posted, which is correct. And you always want to look at to see what the customers are saying, and that's why anytime you go and you buy something from Walmart, you see that they are trying to evaluate the customer's opinion, excellent service. Therefore, the better service you provide, the better results you are going to get. Therefore, you want to make sure that the pricing is right, and you are not selling the products as you are not selling them cheap, and you are not selling them more expensive. One student also mentioned about price sensitivity, and I want to talk about one very interesting thing that about this particular person. And let me tell you who the person is regarding price sensitivity. Martin Shkreli. I want to send this link to you and you all read about it. What he did, he went and bought a company which was selling drugs, that are very much needed for the people to stay alive, let's say. And these people, patients were paying only $13 for that, drug or whatever it was. And as soon as he bought the company, he jacked up the price from 1350 to $750 per pill. And when he did that, and these poor, people who needed that medicine desperately had to come up with $750, and there was nothing that the US Congress could do to stop this guy because it's a free market economy. What could they do to stop him? Anyhow, later they found out he had done something wrong in another way, some cheated. He was involved in securities fraud For another case, anyhow, they arrested him and they sent him to jail, and because of the other issues not related to this company that he bought, but he exposed himself to investigation. Unfortunately, they were able to send the guy to jail because of what he had done. The reason I brought this concept is that because the student mentioned about price sensitivity here. Do you see it is, and in economics we know it as price elasticity, which means sometimes you jack up the price. Do you see? He has jacked up from 1350 to 750, but the people still buy the products from him. Why? Because they need it to survive. And that's why this particular pill, we call it, it is price inelastic, which means if you jack up the price, the demand is still there because the person needs it. Therefore, there are products that if the prices are jacked up, the people still buy them. One of them, I give you an example, is like salt. If the salt in Walmart, one can of salt is 50 cents. If Walmart jacks it up to $1, you still are going to buy it, whatever you need. Maybe you need 10 per year, you will buy. Therefore, these are called price inelastic. There are products that are elastic, price elastic. You drop the price, the people buy more. For example, if the price of, you go and buy, ground beef. 1 pound of ground beef is, $8, $9 at Walmart, $8. If Walmart drops it to $1 per pound, most of the people who buy chicken, they will go and switch to, beef, ground beef. That's called price, elastic, which therefore, those are the issues we want you to know about, this economics. I'm going to send this link with my email to you to read about this guy. And another student talked about fixed and variable costs. Very important. These fixed costs can kill the businesses if it is high and if there is not any enough revenues. Imagine, think about fixed costs is that you have a lot of employees working for your restaurant, for example. Most of them, chef, imagine dishwashers, they are on fixed costs. Therefore, they can create a very, if you don't have enough customers, those fixed costs can cause a lot of problem. You also have variable costs in a restaurant. What are the variable costs? Let's say, think about them as materials you sell. You sell ground beef, you sell steaks or whatever, and therefore they are variable. The more you sell, therefore the costs go up. But fixed costs always stay there. Therefore, you have to be aware of what they are and at what point you can cover your cost, and about financial forecasting as well. Very important for entrepreneurs. Sometimes, usually, many people who start their businesses, they always miscalculate. They always overestimate their revenues and underestimate their costs. Therefore, if you are starting any business, it's a great idea to make sure that you have enough funds and your forecasting is as accurate as possible, and not overestimate your revenues and not underestimate your costs. If you have any questions, you let us know.